Hey guys, on this special edition of The Retweet, we have managing editor of HelloBeautiful.com, Allison McGevna, and managing editor of The Urban Daily, Jada Gomez, to discuss what the media is pushing as the biggest and ugliest feud on Twitter because it involves these two women. And in what I believe is the latest attempt to push the racist trope of the angry black woman, Nicki Minaj was dragged all over Twitter and the media for simply calling out MTV for their failure to celebrate black women. If your video celebrates women with very slim bodies, you will be nominated for Vid of the Year. And then Taylor Swift jumped in for some odd reason, and this is what she tweeted. I've done nothing but love and support you. It's unlike you to pit women against each other. Okay. Talk about a starting point for what could have been a productive conversation on race and gender and intersectionality. Then Taylor jumped in and things got a little crazy. Okay, was she right for jumping in, or is this really peak white feminism?
It's a blatant example of peak white feminism. Whether or not Nicki was deserving of any criticisms, it just had nothing to do with Taylor, and her jumping in and her not seeing the bigger discussion is just so, really exemplifies to me how naive a lot of white women are when it comes to the struggle of women of color. And I think, Nicki, whether you agree or disagree with her, we have to allow black women to be able to speak on their careers, if anything, on their careers at the very least, and their lives, without it being a, hey, don't be mean to me.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
I definitely agree with that. I think that this was a peak Taylor moment. We're definitely used to seeing her in the past recent years of her rise to fame as, the victim, or, this, sweet, young, innocent blonde girl who can't really do anything wrong. And she's kind of also used to getting her way. So when Kanye, kind of Kanye'd her on the VMAs, that ended up being a really great career move for her. It brought her into the pop circle. She was able to kind of talk down Apple from a major multi-million-dollar deal. So she's not used to hearing the words no or you're wrong. So I think that this was definitely peak Taylor.
I don't think Nicki was talking to her. She didn't put her name.
Right.
Didn't feel like a real subtweet to me. She was really just talking about like an institution that kind of perpetuates this oppression of women of color. So first and foremost, sit down. Just have a seat, Taylor. Like, we have many here.
Several.
Okay. Secondly, she's kind of made her career or built her career off of this victimhood. But like this person said, this is why we believe it's peak white feminism. Taylor Swift would take a black woman defending herself as pitting women against each other. Peak white feminism. And for me, what made me really believe that this was her trying to just shut Nicki up completely was the fact that she even came back with, oh, well, maybe one of the men took your spot, which just goes to show you that this mainstream feminism always ignores intersectionality and black women and our issues and what we struggle with.
It just really shows the absolute blinders that I think a lot of people have on. It goes to speak on that, MTV documentary, White People. I think this is really something that white people are getting very defensive about it because they really don't understand it.
Personally, on my Twitter account, I have, my friends who are always talking about Black Lives Matter and Sandra Bland and Freddie Gray or whoever it is next week. And then I have another set of friends who, aren't black, and it's just business as usual, and those names never kind of make the timeline.
Right. And at the core of it, Taylor, it just wasn't about you. Mm-hmm. And that's totally okay. But if you want to be a responsible white ally, just listen. That's it. And on a more serious note, as this Nicki Taylor misunderstanding was being played out on the national stage of Twitter, something else was happening.
You threatening to drag me out of my own car? Get out of the car! And then I will light you up. Get out!
Texas released a disturbing video of Sandra Bland's arrest, and it really was disturbing. And for me, these two things are connected, even though they seem worlds apart. I mean, we're talking about two black women who spoke up about what they believe in, and two black women who were also painted with the same racist trope of the angry black woman. And for Nicki, that meant being dragged over the media, but for Sandra, this meant being found dead in a jail cell.
It's hard for me not to see the connection, and I don't understand how people can't see that, because really all that this boils down to is that Black women are not allowed to have an opinion if it's too aggressive. Black women are not allowed to have an opinion if it's deemed to be an attitude. And, you know, some of the tweets that I've seen of like, who cares if you have an attitude? You're allowed to have an attitude. And who cares if Sandra Bland was a little bit short with the cop? She was frustrated. And he asked her what was wrong, and she told him, and then she got punished for that. It's the same thing with Nicki. You know, she's out there, she's speaking on her own Twitter page. You don't have to follow her, you don't have to agree with her, but yet she's dragged through as this angry Black woman. You literally cannot be a Black woman in this country and be angry.
When millionaire Nicki Minaj can't say, "This is how I see the world as it affects me," what do you think would happen to Sandra Bland? We've talked about this on the Retweet before. Black girls are 6 times more likely to get suspended from school than white girls. And that's not because we're more violent or because we're doing badly in school. It's because there's this idea that we always have an opinion, or that we're always like sassy, or that we're just aggressive in general.
There's definitely this stereotype that Black women are angry and that they're aggressive, and I believe that, you know, when you're younger, I know in my family, growing up in New York, you were taught to be, you know, polite and respectful and good, the good girl. And I feel like, you know, part of that was a protective barrier so that my parents, you know, wouldn't have to worry about these things happening to me. And I think with Sandra Bland, what's really troubling for me with this case is that I've definitely seen my mom kind of, you know, react to being stopped by cops, or, you know, kind of having words with, you know, a cashier at a store. And it really, really scares me, because that could have been my mom or an aunt or myself. And I just cannot believe that she would have done anything that deserved her demise.
The fact that she could have been any one of us. I have been pulled over for failure to signal, and I've had times where I've been frustrated. I'm running late to work or something, and I say to the cop, you know, "What is it, officer?" or something like that. So that's the part that continues to haunt me, and I think haunt a lot of people, is just how regular Sandra was.
We shouldn't be afraid because of these two situations. As Black women, we should be able to talk about our experiences. Guys, do you have any retweets that you want to share?
Yeah, my something that I think really speaks to this is from Black Amazon, and she wrote, "We don't treat Black women well, even those of us who are Black women. We don't, and more pressingly, we don't see it as a problem." And I think that's so right on point. I do think that we really have to come together, and we really have to, you know, recognize the plight of not just Black men in this country. You know, it's Black women too. So, and that's something that I think is a lot of times absent from the dialogue. We always assume that it's a Black man, and that's not to take away what they're going through, but it's that we are also going through it, and that we are also under assault.
100%. And my tweet is actually one of Allie's during the Nicki Minaj conversation that was going on. And it says, "I know we all don't agree on everything, but I respect you all so much. Be strong in your opinions. The world needs them now more than ever." And I think that that really struck me, because, you know, we all do have different opinions from our backgrounds, or, you know, just our experiences where we grew up. And I think it's really important to the conversation for us to, you know, be able to disagree and to kind of find the common thread in that and respect those opinions, because we're not, you know, there's not one blueprint for Blackness that we all follow.
If we're gonna get rid of this racist trope of the angry Black woman, or if we're gonna make people start listening to the fact that Black women are getting erased every single day, then a conversation is what needs to happen. Anyway, retweet the tweets these ladies talked about on today's show, retweet the tweets we talked about in our dialogue, and I'll see you next week.